See life. You get to spend life with me every night from 6 to 7, right here live from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios, on social media, on the radio at 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation for all you guys out there listening to that. Welcome to the show tonight. It is Tuesday, March the 5th. Hope you guys have, man, I'm telling you, these last 2 days in Lubbock, Texas have been beautiful. All you people in Dallas and in the Metroplex and Austin and all those places around that make fun of us for our weather, man, it's been absolutely beautiful. We had that bad day last Tuesday when the Longhorns were in town, and it was perfect because we blew them all out of here, got them to go away, and then for the last 2 days, man, it's been great. So hope everybody has had a fantastic day. We've had a good day here at The Rock, just like always. You know, we say that every show is pretty much the same opening couple minutes. It's how, if you had a good day at The Rock. I'm telling you, when you get to do this work that I get to do on a daily basis, it is amazing. It absolutely is. It's fantastic, the stuff that we get to do, the people that we get to work with, the things that we get to see happen in the office. It's just I'm just can't say how blessed I am to get to do the stuff that we get to do. So it was great. Had some good stuff happening today, and we're glad to be it. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about a couple different things. One of those things is I'm gonna just hit a little piece of science for you that maybe you didn't know, and then I want to get into some blood work tonight, and I want to get into the blood work that I just took on Saturday, and I want to share it with you. And I'm going to be transparent I'm going to show you. I'm going to get it. I'm going to pull it up here. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you all my numbers. I'm going to let you see what the things that I'm dealing with, because it's life, right? And the things that we're dealing with, we're all dealing with, and we're all trying to figure out how to make it through life. We're all trying to figure out how to do the best we can on a daily basis. Some of us are at the very beginning stages of that. Some of us are at they don't know that they don't know stages of that. Some of us haven't quite realized all of the opportunity that we have. Some of us are mature and gone through the whole thing and just trying to finish out our days. Like, you know, it's a broad spectrum of what we are doing on a daily basis in life. And so I want to show you this stuff because I just want you to know that the stuff that I talk about shows up in the blood work to a certain extent. It's not the end all be all of things, but it shows up a little bit. And you can kind of say, okay, wow, like here's some things that are going on. And it's not 100% perfect. It's pretty close, but it's not 100% perfect. There's some things that I have gotten from it that I know that I could do better. And so that's what I want to do tonight on the show. Now, I realize that a lot of our listeners are female, and so I'm going to go over my blood work. I'm going to go over just some of the other things that are just happen to be on the blood work, but I'm not going to get into Leslie's numbers and all that sort of thing. I will share all my stuff with you, but I don't think that's fair for me to do that. But it's not exactly the same, and I've got a couple different blood test results that we can kind of look at some of them, and so that's what I want to do tonight. So why would a chiropractor do that, right? Like why would I care about, as a wellness chiropractor, why would I care about that, right? So I want to make sure that it's very clear and right straight up front. What we do at the Rock Health and Wellness Center is detect and correct subluxation, interference in the nervous system. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And I do it every single day with every single patient. It doesn't matter if that patient is 7 hours old, which is the youngest child I've ever adjusted, and he just turned 4 on Sunday, or if you're 101 years old. It doesn't make any difference if you're a super athlete. It doesn't make any difference if you're a stay-at-home mom. It doesn't make any difference if you're a grandparent. My job is to detect and correct your subluxation. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I try to work at that pretty hard to try to figure out, how do I determine what that is? How do I know what that means? And how do I determine what that is? And what do we do about it when we find it? So you live your life through your nervous system, right? If you were to Google tonight, if you were just to look tonight and see how many, like, what does acetaminophen do in your body? Like, where does it work, right? Guys know I hate that Tylenol, um, and 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 where does it work? If you take a pain pill, where does it work in your body? Let's say your elbow hurts, right? Your elbow hurts, and you're going to take a pain pill for your elbow. Where is that pain? Is the pill going to work at your elbow, or is the pain pill going to work in your brain? Well, the answer is it's going to work in your brain. It targets different receptors. It targets different areas of the brain, right? So your brain is controlling your body. Your brain is controlling your body. If you don't believe that, just turn your brain off. When do they pronounce you dead in the hospital? They pronounce you dead when you're flatlined. You ever seen that? You're flatlined, right? When you're brain dead, you're brain dead. You're dead. That's it. If your heart goes flatlined, they can start it back up. They can keep you on a ventilator, and they can keep you alive for a long time on machines. But once your brain goes dead, you're dead, because your nervous system, you cannot live without your nervous system. You can't live 1 second without your nervous system. So that's why, to me, it's so important. And when I started 24 years ago in chiropractic, which is just about this, we're getting pretty close. Maybe next week is going to, somewhere in the next 2 weeks, will be the 24th anniversary of me being in chiropractic. It's been 24 years since I went to work for my brother-in-law, and in March of 2000, and I didn't know all this stuff beforehand. I had been a chiropractic patient, but I didn't know all this stuff. And I started learning it 24 years ago, and I've had to evolve as I've gone through it. And if you look at any person that's been in an industry for 24 years, you would hope that person over a 24-year period of time has evolved a little bit in their understanding of how things work. And the things that I understood 24 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 18 years ago, and 12 years ago have evolved along the way. And I can tell you right now that to start with good health, you got to start with the nervous system. Like, if you want good health, you got to start with the nervous system, and you got to analyze the things that interfere with the nervous system. And then and one of the ways that we do that is we look at symptoms. We look at how the body is functioning to determine where the interference in the nervous system is. If I have pain in my elbow, what does that mean? Well, pain means nervous system activation, because otherwise, if I didn't activate my nervous system, I wouldn't know that I had pain in my elbow, right? Christopher Reeve, go back and take pictures. Go back and look at him. If you guys don't know who that is, it's Superman from when I was a kid, right? So Christopher Reeve, 6'3", good looking. We've showed him on the show before, right? He's a good looking 6'3" athletic guy. He fell and breaks his neck, and now he can't move. You could take a pin and stick Christopher Reeve in the elbow, and he wouldn't flinch. He wouldn't even know that he had been stuck in the elbow. So why? Because the nervous system had been so severely interfered with, that he couldn't get any information going from his brain to his body and from his body to his brain. So if you have any sensation whatsoever, any feeling whatsoever of anything that's not right in your body, you can be guaranteed for a fact that your nervous system is involved, because you can feel it, which means the nerves are involved, which means the spinal cord is involved, which means the brain is involved, right? So when we're working on things, just like we've talked about lots of times with Dr. Fraley and Ruidoso, is fuel and activation. Fuel and activation. What's going on with fuel and activation? So we want to make sure that's why every once in a while, and not all the time for me, like my parents go see a doctor here in town, and it's every 3 months I got to go get their blood work done. and get more blood work. Just go to the lab, get your blood work done, see what's going on. I don't know what they're doing. Measuring, like I understand A1C and 3, and we're going to get into that tonight. If you guys don't know what A1C is, we're going to do a little bit of that, explaining it to you. But but they're getting it done all the time. For me, I think 2021 or 2022, maybe 2022 was the last time. And why I did it on Saturday was because it's the 2-year anniversary of when I stopped eating basically refined carbohydrates and sugar. And so I just wanted to see for myself where I was with this whole thing. And I think that's one of my notes tonight, was to make sure that what is it that you're trying to accomplish when you go get your blood work done? What do you want to know? And other doctors might want to know something completely different. If you went to a urologist, they might want to know something completely different. If they did blood work and urinalysis, they might be looking for something specific, right? If you go to a autoimmune guy or some sort of immune doctor of some kind, they might be looking for something that's just really specific. And so I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight about blood work. I don't want to fight about amongst the group about blood work. I don't want to fight about what we're looking for. I don't want to fight about the fact that me as a chiropractor actually is why are we talking about it on our wellness show, right? We're talking about it from a field and activation standpoint. We're talking about it as a guide, as a monitoring system to kind of see how is our blood work, how are we doing with our diet and exercise, and how is our immune system functioning? Is there something in there that's going on? Now, if you're female, we may want to check on your hormone levels, right? We might want to see what's going on in the different phases of your menstrual cycle. We might want to see if your FSH or your LH is in the appropriate ranges depending on which phase of the menstrual cycle you're in. The first 14-day phase, the mid cycle peak, or the last 14-day phase, where your hormones may be different, right? And how's your testosterone? How's your estrogen? What's going on with some some different markers in your blood that you might want to know about? And so those are things for us that are important when we're trying to monitor what a person is doing to determine if there's any interference in their nervous system, to determine if they're getting fuel and activation properly, if what is your A1C and what's going on with your blood work and I mean your blood sugar, and is that something that might be interfering with the way that your body is functioning? So, because if your blood sugar is high, you're going to end up destroying your nervous system. That's the truth. If your cholesterol is wrong, you might end up with a heart attack, but you're going to also mess up your nervous system at the same time, right? So we want to make sure that all those things are checked. So that's why we want to get into it, and that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight, are the different phases and the different things when it comes to that. And I want to talk about it as a wellness chiropractor. I don't want to talk about it as a medical doctor. So if you've got something that you're dealing with on your blood work and you would like to talk to me about it, if you're a patient of mine and you would like to talk to me about it, then I'd be glad to talk to you about it. I'd be glad to give you the wellness version of it, and we can talk about some things that you might want to do. But I'm not your medical doctor, and I'm not treating your medical issues, right? Just want to make sure we're clear on that. The other thing is that I want to make sure about is that this is not my number one area of expertise. I have some knowledge about it, and I also have learned over my lifetime how to learn, right? So this is the clinical laboratory medicine book that we had in chiropractic school that we actually took a whole a trimester. We did a whole trimester of work on clinical laboratory stuff. We did blood draws on ourselves while we were in chiropractic school. We tested the blood, We looked at things. We went through all the clinical diagnosis and evaluation of everything. And so it was part of what my education in chiropractic school. So I have some of it. I just don't do it on a daily basis like some of the guys do. So I wanted to be transparent about that right up front. And then I just wanted to kind of go through and show you some of my stuff. So we'll just start with it. And let me see. Let me get it back up here to the top. And I'm going to be going through this in a couple of different ways, but I'm going to make it so that you can see it. And I hope that's coming through. Let me check it just to make sure that it's coming through. It may be really small on your screen. And let me check it just to make sure that it's coming through. Yeah, you might have to turn. Yes, if you turn your screen sideways, you can see that. You can see some of that. And right at the top, you can see the collection date of 3/2 of 2024. And so 3/2 was the anniversary date. It's a 2 year. I started March 2nd. March 2nd of 2022 is when I started that no sugar diet, right? So we'll just kind of we'll just kind of go through some of this. And this first one, the CBC with differential and the platelets and all that sort of thing. So everything is just normal. So when you're reading your blood work, they're going to give you all the things that are being tested over here on the side. Then they're going to give you the results that you have. And then they're going to have a column in the middle usually that has some sort of abnormal finding, right? You guys know that. So there's an abnormal finding, and then you got reference ranges over here, and then it tells you the units by what it's being measured in on the side. And let me say this. I was going to say this a while ago, but let me just say it again. This is not my area of expertise. It's something that we can check and we can look at and we can evaluate and we can research if there's a problem right there. There are 500, maybe 5,000. I don't know how many different YouTube videos that explains every one of these things right here. And some of these guys are experts in this area. And so if you have something that you're trying to learn and it's serious and you're trying to learn it, there are great videos that you can watch that guys that do blood work every day, that are professionals in reading it, that will give you great information and that sort of thing. So, and I'm not trying to compete with those people tonight because I can't compete with those people when it comes to exactly how this works, right? But I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to be clear. The collection date was 3/2/2024. The results date was 3/4. This is what it was. And pretty much on this first page, white blood cells, red blood cells, hemoglobin, hematocrit, all those things right there, everything was pretty much in the normal ranges, except for when I got down right here to this absolute monocyte. And one of the things that probably over the last week or so, I kind of had like a little bit of a irritation, like right in my side, in my abdomen, right about where my kidneys are, right? And I had like a little irritation right there, and I wasn't exactly sure. I was like, all right, what is going on? How come? Do I have a kidney stone or something? Like, what is happening? And so I kind of started doing a little research on that. And, kidney stones are calcium oxalate stones in the kidneys. And one of the things that are high, when you get a bunch of high oxalate foods, and so I just went and researched what are high oxalate foods. Well, great. The high oxalate foods are, some of the things are sweet potatoes and raspberries and dates. And those are three things that I've been eating a bunch of, right? So my RX bar is made out of dates. That's the snack that I have in between, or if I don't have lunch or something like that, I eat raspberries a ton, and you eat a bunch of those, and we eat a lot of sweet potatoes. So those things are high there. Now, calcium will balance that, and calcium absorption. So spinach is one of the things that's high in oxalates as well. spinach leaves. And so when you eat a bunch of salads with spinach leaves, and if you do that, you might end up with a little bit too much oxalate count, and then you can end up with some kidney stones. So I wasn't exactly sure. So one of the things I've been doing is flushing it. I mentioned it to you guys this week about drinking lots of water with lemon and lime squeezed in it. I'm trying to flush my kidneys, right? I cut back on those foods. And in the last week or two, I've done this off and on for a while, but one of the things I've been doing is some apple cider vinegar at night with a little bit of honey in it. And I make it up like a hot tea. So I'll just warm some water up, 8 ounces of water. I put 2 tablespoons of the apple cider vinegar in it, squeeze some honey in there. And because if we did a book review, I don't remember what exactly what that book was called, but one of our Wednesday night book reviews we did was about apple cider vinegar, and the effects of apple cider vinegar and the help that it has. So whether or not I'm having some sort of urinary tract infection or kidney infection or something like that, or I had a kidney stone, or I was in the process of that, or if I was having some sort of kidney problem, that's what I was trying to address. I wanted to say, all right, I need to figure out what's going on. And so what I want to, you got to be able to work through those things. You got to say, all right, what's happening there? What do I need to change in my diet? Maybe, do I need to ease up a little bit on raspberries? Do I need to ease up a little bit on sweet potatoes? Calm down the dates just a little bit. How's my body responding, right? Because to me, a symptom is my body's way of trying to tell me that I have my body in an environment that's incongruent with health. That's what my body's trying to tell me. The symptom is not trying to tell me that I have a lack of medication in my body. That's not what my body's trying to say. My body's trying to say, hey, Jason, look, I don't like the way you're treating me. So I have to take that feedback and I have to analyze that and say, all right, well, if that's the fact, if I'm treating you wrong and you're giving me symptoms that are it's telling me that I'm treating you wrong, it's kind of like if Leslie was telling me you're not treating me right. And I'm like, okay, here, take 2 of these and call me in the morning, right? Like, how's that going to work out? Like, do you think that's going to go well in my marriage if that's the case? No, that's not going to go well. So how does it work in our bodies when our bodies are trying to tell us something that's going on and we're ignoring that? Well, it just gets worse, right? So we need to pay attention to those things. So right down here, my absolute monocytes here, let me hide this because that's on the screen there. My absolute monocytes are high, and that could be some sort of indication that my kidneys aren't functioning properly. Well, I already knew that before I went and took the test, so it didn't surprise me. I'm not freaking out about it. It's the only thing on that entire thing that showed up on that particular page out of all those things that are being tested right there. So I knew that's my monocyte is a white blood cell, and your white blood cells increase when you're dealing with some sort of infection or some sort of autoimmune disease. Those are times that your white blood cells might get bigger or increase, and I already knew that. So I'm already working on it, right? That's something that I would want to work on. My neutrophils are fine, my lymphocytes are fine. All the rest of it, just the monocytes, just showed up just a touch high. They're not like extremely high. It's 1.05, and the range is 0.2 to 1.0, and it's 1.05. So I'm not super concerned about that. It's just there, and it's something that is that I should pay attention to, right? So we'll work ourselves down. Hemoglobin A1C is 5.5. And I know you guys probably know this. A lot of people have studied this. You guys already have figured out what that means. But your hemoglobin A1C it's basically an average. If you don't understand what it means, it's an average over a period of time, like the last 3-month average and 3-month average is because That's about the lifespan of your red blood cells. So your red blood cells have a lifespan of about 120 days. So you're getting into that 3 to 4 month average range right there. And what hemoglobin A1C is, to be just really simple with it, it's when you have high amounts of glucose in your bloodstream, that glucose will sometimes, remember what we talked about it being thick and sticky? It's thick and sticky. Well, when glucose is thick and sticky, then what you end up with is that glucose sticking to or getting into your hemoglobin, which carries your oxygen in your body, and several other things that it does. But the hemoglobin A1C is basically a glucose hemoglobin, and it gives you a level of understanding of how much sugar you have in your blood and what's going on with that. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and then we'll continue with the A1C conversation and get into the rest of the blood work right there. So you guys stick around. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we'll be right back right after these messages. So we'll talk about it for a second right there. What we're getting right there when you do your hemoglobin A1C, in case you guys don't know this, is you're getting an average over time. What you're not getting is a moment in time with that one. A moment in time is when you just check your blood sugar. Like you can just prick your finger if you have a blood sugar tester, or maybe you have one of those monitors that you wear on your arm. Those are moments in time. And the thing about the moment in time part of it is that it can fluctuate a lot. And so if we graph it out right here, your blood sugar, let's say 100. Let's say 100 is an average, right? So you may wake up in the morning and your blood sugar may be low. Like you might be down here somewhere, and then you might eat breakfast and you might spike that blood sugar real high, and then insulin's going to kick in and bring it back down, and then you're gonna do this spike thing all day long. That's going back and forth, and you're going up and down with your blood sugar all day long. So you could take your blood sugar and you could test it, and as soon as you test it, it's like, oh, well, I might have checked it and it's really low right here, or I might have checked it and it's really high right here, or it could be really high up here, or it could be really low down here. Well, that doesn't really give you a really good understanding of what the average of it is. And really low blood sugar is not good for your brain. It can be quite bad for your brain, actually. And really high blood sugar is not good for your brain either. That could be quite bad for your for your brain. So what you want is that average and see exactly where it is over time. And that's what A1C basically does, is it measures an average over time. So it's a little bit better. It's not measuring any particular day. It's not measuring anything that's particularly high or low on that day. It's measuring an average. Let me get us back on the radio here. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Jason Clemmons, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we are breaking down my blood work tonight and talking about blood work. So for all you guys that are out there listening, that's what we're doing. So I was talking during the break about A1C being an average, basically sugar-coated blood hemoglobin. That's basically what you got right there, is sugar-coated hemoglobin. And you can kind of think of it as like Frosted Flakes, like that sugar that's on that corn chip instead of corn flakes, right? What is it? That hemoglobin is going to look more like Frosted Flakes if it's got a bunch of sugar over the top of it, And that's going to give you an average, and it's going to tell you kind of what your blood is doing, and it's going to tell you what, it's going to tell you what your glucose levels are, and then that's going to tell you how you're handling your sugar, and if your sugar is too high, and if you're setting yourself up for diabetes, and those sort of things. So we don't want that, right? So my A1C is 5.5, and that's an estimated glucose, an average glucose of 111, and that kind of surprises me just a little bit. But it also gives me some feedback. Pretty much all the doctors, the gauges, the reference ranges pretty much say if you stay below 5.7, that's a safe range of staying out of diabetes. You get into 5.7 up into 6 something, and you're that pre-diabetic, and then you get over, maybe it's up to like, you get into that 7 range, and 7 and above, it gets you into that diabetic range. And so this is an estimated average glucose of 111 and a 5.5. So what does that tell me? Well, maybe there's a little bit too much of the, like sweet potatoes or something that we eat a bunch of, right? And maybe there's those dates. Those are another thing there, because there are some carbs, there's some sugars in those. There's some sugars in that RX bar, and I eat. And maybe I need to change. I need to change my snacking habits just a little bit. It's not so much in the food, because it's like there's no bread, there's no pasta, there's no rice, there's basically no refined carbohydrates whatsoever for 2 years. None at any time. Not a bite. Not one. Nothing. Right. So that's not really my problem. If I want to get that down, and I would like to see that drop a little bit, that wouldn't bother me if it's in the if it's in the 4s. But I'm not going to freak out about it. Right. I'm not gonna get too concerned with it. I'm just going to say, all right, well, it's a feedback mechanism that says, because it's in the normal ranges, it's fine. It's just a little bit lower than it's just a little bit higher than what we'd like it to be. So 5.5 on my A1C, 11 on my glucose. So what does it mean? Okay, your glucose can be high by eating refined carbohydrates. Your glucose can be high by eating starches or fruits or things that are still healthy for you, that still bring your blood glucose up a little bit. Your glucose can be high when you're stressed out. Those are other things that can make you high, right? Your sympathetic nervous system can be firing. Maybe my sympathetic nervous system, and that's not a good, is with my kidneys or whatever, maybe that was it, but that would be more of an acute phase instead of an average over time. And so it kind of tells us that there's multiple things I could do to lower my blood sugar, and at the same time, I'm not super concerned about it. I'm aware of it. The 5.5, maybe I'd like it to be 5. Maybe 4.8 or 5 would be better. But your brain really does like sugar, and so I'm not going to try to drive that thing down. 4.2 to 5.6 is the reference range that this particular lab gives me, which gives me. It also tells me this: whenever you do something, you gotta let your lab that you do the blood work in set the ranges for you, because you can compare it to somebody else's lab and their range findings might be just a little bit different, or you can compare it to like something that you find on the internet or whatever. These are not absolutes, right? So there's some reference ranges right there that they're trying to give us that says, hey, this is kind of where you are. And so this particular reference range at 5.6 or below would be considered fine, right? I might want to drop that just a little bit. So what could I do? Well, I could eat green beans instead of sweet potatoes, right? I could. That's one thing that I could do that would help with that. I could maybe watch out about how many of those RX bars I eat in a day. Maybe I need a handful of pistachios instead, and that doesn't cause that that level of sugar to rise. I got some pistachios right here. Actually, Leslie got me some, and at Sprouts, and total sugars. These are roasted and unsalted pistachios. So got them at Sprouts today. She was in there for some reason, and got that. And it says total carbohydrates 9 grams, total sugars 2 grams, including 0 added sugar. So it's just nuts. I mean the ingredients is just pistachios, and that's it. So maybe I could trade a handful of pistachios instead of eating an RX bar, and there's like 23 or something grams of sugar in the RX bar. So those are easy things to do, right? But I'm not. It's not out of control. It's not something I need to overreact to, but it's something that's easy enough to do, and we can handle it, and it's no problem. So that's what that is right there. The urinalysis was basically clean. Nothing showed up right there. PSA totals 0.31. So, anything below, if you got the PSA, we're talking about prostate right there. And it's that might be a touch low on a 12-month average. So I kind of need to watch that and see if that stays down there. But it being that low, there are some. There's like 1 in a million chance that I'm going to have prostate cancer at this point. So I'm not concerned about that. I can't even get a lab to draw another kind of more in-depth blood draw on that because I'm not even above 2. And so if I get above 4, then it really starts to get a problem. So 0.31, there might be some slight enlargement of the prostate if that was to average that out over a 12-month period of time, but we'll check it and see. We might do another one of these tests just to kind of see what's going on right there, but it's low. I'm not, according to what I understand, I'm not really concerned about that. Probably not going to end up with any sort of prostate cancer. Thyroid stimulating hormone, really you want to get into T3 and T4 and TSH when you're looking at your thyroid. You want to look at all of them if you're evaluating thyroid. I wasn't really evaluating my thyroid so much. My numbers are fine. Nothing showed up whatsoever on that. But if you were having a thyroid problem and we were really wanting to test it a little bit better, we'd get a little bit better test on it. The test that I chose, and I did all this at Any Lab Test Now right here in Lubbock, and you can go. It costs $188 to do it. I went in and paid cash for it, got the blood test done. That's another thing that's freedom when you I don't even have a PCP. I haven't been to the doctor hardly ever in the last 24 years. I think maybe 3 times in the last 24 years. Got my heart checked out, but and then last year I had that little episode with my blood pressure and the passing out thing that I'm not too sure. I have some theories about that, but we're not going to talk about them tonight. But so one of the things that I could tell you is that some people are trapped inside their health insurance. They won't do anything if their health insurance doesn't pay for it. They won't go take care of themselves properly. They'll pay $500 or $1,000 for Ozempic if their health insurance doesn't pay for it, but they won't go pay for a blood test because their health insurance doesn't pay for it, or they won't pay for chiropractic care because their health insurance doesn't pay for it. And I'm just telling you, that's bad theory right there. Like, don't let your health insurance provider dictate your health. Just on that. But no problem with thyroid. Everything's fine. Vitamin D level, that's another thing that I did want to check. I had to add that extra. So I think it was $149 for the test, and then I added the extra vitamin D level just because I was wanting to get it all at the same time. We can test vitamin D here in the office if you're interested in that. But the vitamin D level is 74. And last time I took it 2 years ago, let me see, because I checked it. It was in the 70s. It was 73, 74, 75, something like that, the last time that I looked at it. So, but 74 is great. I take 5,000 IUs of vitamin D every day. Been taking that for 4 or 5 years. Took 10,000 IUs a lot during COVID, even increased it up. Am not worried about it whatsoever. I want my vitamin D level high. I like it up there in that level, in that range. Leslie's vitamin D level was up in that range as well. Both of us, we take those same 5,000. Hers was at 74. And so you guys that are living down there in the 30 range, like I really do think it's healthier to get your vitamin D levels up there. Don't be afraid of it. It's the people that I study with, like they're not even worried about if it's 100, and so like that's my vitamin D level. Got it up there to that level. So think I think there's a lot of protection in having your vitamin D levels high. So whatever you're taking, you can talk about it. You can talk about it with your medical doctor if you want to. Like most of the time when you talk to your medical doctor about it, it just depends on if you have an awesome medical doctor or not, or you have someone that's caught up in old times, right? And make sure you're talking to your medical doctor when you're talking to them too. Like there's just if you have a medical condition, if there's something you need to worry about with your vitamin D, make sure you're talking to your medical doctor. But if you're trying to do wellness, don't be afraid to get your vitamin D levels up over 50, 60, 70 and get them in that ranges. If 5,000 IUs a day for 4 years doesn't have any indication that there's any problem with that whatsoever. Okay, cholesterol, which is really not that big of a deal, I don't think. I guess if it's within the normal ranges, it's not that big of a deal. But here's my lipid panel right here. So you know what they sold us, the bill of goods about eating fat, right? If you eat fat, you're going to have high cholesterol. If you eat fried foods and all that other stuff, right? Those things that are not fried foods, but if you eat fat, and we went into that low fat craze. We got to get rid of the fat. We got to make sure that it's going to make your cholesterol go up and all that stuff. In the last 2 years, I have eaten sausage and eggs for breakfast probably 90% of the days. Like this morning, I think I had 3 or 4 scrambled eggs and 3 pieces of sausage for breakfast. I had a handful of a handful of blueberries and some strawberries, a couple of slices of pineapple, because there's some bromelain in the pineapple, and I'm working on things with that too. And then a handful of pistachios. That was breakfast. And so this idea that bacon and eggs for breakfast is going to cause your cholesterol to go up, I would have to say is not true. My total cholesterol is 177 with a reference range of 200. My triglycerides are 38. My HDL cholesterol is 56, which surprised me just a little bit, but that's pretty much where it's been over the last time I took the test. It was 50, so it's actually better than it was 2 years ago when I took the test. 2 years ago, my cholesterol was 169, my triglycerides were 39, and my calculated LDL to cholesterol was 108. So this time, my cholesterol is 177, my triglycerides are 38, my HDL cholesterol is 56, my calculated LDL cholesterol is 110, and it says high. I don't care. I don't care what that number is right there, based on Dr. Lustig and Sugar the Bitter Truth. And you can go to our website at therockhealthandwellnesscenters.com, and you can listen to Dr. Lustig talk about the video. Just click on videos. I've talked about it before. Dr. Lustig will break down for you exactly what it means to have type A and type B LDL cholesterol, and what it means and what you're actually looking for. So what you're looking for when you have cholesterol, according to Dr. Lustig, And I'm pretty sold on Dr. Lustig's understanding of cholesterol and his experience with sugar and all that sort of thing. And so we've had his Hacking of the American Mind book, I think was the second book we did on our book review night back in September last year. If you want to go back and check that out, it was right after we did Dale Bredesen's End of Alzheimer's book. So if we're going to graph this out, we're not going to graph it out. Just basically, what you need to know is if your triglycerides are low and your HDLs are high, then you have type A LDL, which are large, buoyant LDL. They float through your bloodstream. They don't get in the crevices. They don't cause plaquing in the blood. They don't cause you to have any of that occlusion of the blood vessel. There's, according to Dr. Lustig, low triglycerides and high HDLs give you type A LDLs, and there's nothing to worry about. If that was switched, then it's a problem. If the triglycerides are high and your HDLs are low, then you have type B LDL, and that is a problem. You better watch out because you can create some cardiovascular disease for yourself, right? So just want to make sure we go over that again. That's why I don't care what that number is on that. I don't care what that number is right there on that calculated LDL cholesterol, 110. The reference rate is 100, so it says it's coming in high. It doesn't matter. It's type A LDL, and it's large and buoyant, and I'm not going to have a heart attack. Plus, heart attack is inflammation anyway, and I can promise you that. I haven't tested. That's the next thing I got to do is test my omega-6-3 ratio, but I take over 3,000 milligrams of omega-6-3 ratio, omega-3 fatty acids. Been doing that for years and years now. So, but when it comes to cholesterol, there you go. How do you get your triglycerides down and your HDLs up? And I would like to even continue to get those HDLs up, but 39 is a reference rate. Now, if you get between 50, get up 50 and 60 for males, you get up into that level, there's some evidence of protection and low triglycerides. So less than 150 is the reference range, and I'm at 38. And so I'm not concerned about that whatsoever. And we've talked about it lots of times, right? Now, if you're on some sort of metformin, you may have the same type of deal right here. Like you may have you may say, "Oh man, my cholesterol is great. It's down." Well, the only reason your cholesterol is down is if you're on a statin, not on metformin. Sorry. If you're on a statin. If you're on a statin and your cholesterol is below 200 and it's down in that range, then you're kidding yourself, because cholesterol is the patch that patches up the holes in your blood vessels and mostly in your gut area. And what are you doing if you've got holes in your gut and you're not patching them up, right? You're causing trouble for yourself, right? So what did we say last week about this? That the pharmaceutical companies know this. They build the drugs for the test. They're teaching to the test. They know if they build the drug to do this, you'll end up with something that looks like that. Your HDLs will be high because you're trying to get that extra patch back to the liver. Your triglycerides will be low. And then you'll end up saying, I'm healthy. But you'll be amongst the most unhealthy people in the world when you're taking your statin drug. And I can't put you on and take you off. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about health, right? So don't be confused about those two things. I did take an Advil about 4 years ago when I got a tooth fixed. So I'm getting ready for implants. And I've taken 3 antibiotics in the last 24 years, and I did take a Tylenol about 2008. So what you're seeing right here with this blood work is drug-free blood work, right? You're not seeing any, and I'm 53 years old, so you're not seeing anything right there. I'm not bragging. I'm not. If you guys haven't figured that out by now, I'm not bragging. I'm just sharing with you that this is not drug altered blood work. This is just real, honest, truthful blood work. So, risk ratio LDL to HDL 1.96, less than 3.55 is the reference range. So I'm not worried about that. This is something we get down iron. All the iron stuff was good within the normal ranges. Nothing to worry about. Comprehensive metabolic panel estimated glomerular filtration rate. How are my kidneys doing? Well, there's two things that show up right there. Glucose was a little high in my the BUN, blood urea nitrogen, and it's kind of a gauge to see what's going on in with your kidneys. And the reference range was 6 to 20. The BUN was high at 22, and I knew that, right? And so that reference range of glucose being 101 and the reference range was 70 to 99. So that's not a surprise to me. It's something that I need to check out. I need to make sure that I get my kidneys healthy and that I take care of them, that I drink plenty of fluids during the day, that I don't ever drink soda, and I don't drink alcohol. So those things are not something that I have to worry about. My blood pressure has run a little bit high over the last year or two, just really since last year, since I had that little episode. And I decreased my salts a little bit and got my blood pressure to come down some. So that's something that we've been working on. So there is one thing right there, those two things that were just a little bit out of the normal range that when it came to kind of seeing what my kidneys were doing. And then that's pretty much the rest of the report. So just wanted to share that with you guys. I wanted to be transparent in what we're doing. Sorry, I didn't upgrade that for you, but let me show it to you one more time because I didn't highlight it. But right here, the glucose was 101 and 70 to 99 was the range, and the BUN, the blood urea nitrogen, is 22, and it's a 66 to 20. So need to make sure I get that down. But everything else there, the cholesterol stuff, not worried about. The A1C I can work on. Need to keep an eye on this PSA just a little bit. And overall, that was it. So I just felt like it was important when you talk about a diet and exercise, that if you're going to talk about it, you ought to at least share with the people that are watching your show kind of what's going on out there, right? The reference ranges, Leslie pretty much took the same test. There was a little bit, basically just the reference ranges were different. There are a couple of things that she's got to work on, but there was nothing that was concerning whatsoever. And then you can take a more advanced test and get really into your hormones and find out what's going on with you and your hormones to see, if for you ladies about that. And if you have some particular thing. So we have them. We have LabCorp availability here in the office. We have Dutch testing. If you guys have ever done that, that's kind of like the Cadillac of all tests right there with the Dutch testing. And so if you need some help, if you want some help with your blood work, and you want to make your blood work better, eat better and exercise. That's what I can tell you. Eat your whole foods, eat like you're supposed to, get rid of your sugar, get rid of your refined carbohydrates, and get on a regular exercise routine. And it will make not only make your life better, it'll help fuel and activate your nervous system so that your body will function as optimally as possible. I appreciate you guys. This is pretty much the end of the show. I appreciate you guys for listening tonight. If you have any questions, send me a text, 806-794-0400, or send me a message on Facebook or YouTube or X, and we'll get back with you Otherwise, you guys have a great evening, and we will see you again tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.